What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Formula One Gridlock. My name is Nathan, and I'm here with my co-host,
Chase Boz.
How you doing today, Chase?
I'm doing great. F1's
Good.
looking phenomenal, dude. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, and I totally agree with you. It was an excellent Imola GP, and I can't wait for Portugal. I think it's this weekend? I don't know when the...
Yeah, it's this Friday.
This weekend. Super ready for that. So why don't I just start us off with a little rundown?
Yeah, go for it.
In first place, we have Max Verstappen getting his first win of the season for, of course, Red Bull Racing. In second place, the reigning world champion, Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes.
Mm-hmm.
Third place, Lando Norris with McLaren, our boy.
Oh, yeah.
Fourth place, Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. Fifth place, Carlos Sainz, also in the Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
Sixth place, Daniel Ricciardo in the McLaren. Seventh place, Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri. Eighth place, Lance Stroll in Aston Martin Mercedes. Ninth place, Esteban Ocon in the Alpine. 10th place, Fernando Alonso in the Alpine. 11th place, Sergio Perez in the second Red Bull car. 12th place, Yuki Tsunoda in the second AlphaTauri. 13th, Kimi Raikkonen in Alfa Romeo. 14th, Antonio Giovinazzi in the Alfa Romeo. 15th, Sebastian Vettel, not finishing, I guess. They don't have a time in the Aston.
DNF'd, yeah, at the very end. Yeah.
16th, Mick Schumacher in the Haas. 17th, Nikita Mazepin in the Haas. And 3 complete non-finishers, Valtteri Bottas, George Russell, and Nicholas Latifi.
I think, to cut in here, I think what happened with Vettel is he DNF'd as it was, finishing, so I guess they gave him his position or something?
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works. But, Chase, what is your one-word description of the 2021 Imola GP?
It has to be chaotic. Whole thing. The best racers doing crazy things. The worst racers doing pretty good, right? Just spinning off at every corner. I mean, yellow flags everywhere.
Great word. My word for this race was dethroned. We finally got to see Max Verstappen outright beat Lewis Hamilton in that Mercedes. Lewis had no problems. Max was just faster. And I love to see that. And I love to see that.
Definitely.
All right, Chase. Who is your driver of the day?
See, now this is tough. There's a lot of good candidates. I mean, obviously, Max with how he dealt with Lewis. I'm not going to choose him, but, Norris for number 3, that's a great one.
That is a good one.
But I was toying with the idea of Lance Stroll.
Lance Stroll in 8th in the Aston Martin.
And the reason being is he fought off Valtteri. And Valtteri didn't have a phenomenal race, but he fought off Valtteri for over half the race. He was just right there. Valtteri was a second behind Lance. And then he, points. That's pretty good for Aston Martin, right?
Of course, yeah.
So, yeah, I think I'm going to stick with Stroll, but Norris is my honorable mention. How about you?
That is a good one. Lando Norris is actually also my honorable mention. My driver of the day is Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari.
Good choice.
Sticking really close to Charles Leclerc. As we all know, I mean, we've discussed before on this podcast, Charles Leclerc, excellent driver, already getting a lot out of that less than perfect Ferrari car. So to see Carlos Sainz up there in the points right next to his teammate, I don't think you can be happier as Ferrari. I think for a 4th, 5th finish with how the top of the grid looks, I think Ferrari is patting themselves on the back after this week.
I would be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Chase, give me your team of the day.
All right. So my team of the day is actually your team of the day last week's, Ferrari.
Okay.
That 4-5, oh my goodness. I mean, like you said, they had a terrible 2020. They placed 7th Constructors' Championship, and now they're back here, 4-5. That's good. That's clean. And if we look at the other top running teams, we see a bit of a gap between them, right? The smallest gap would be McLaren, Daniel, and Norris, but Red Bull has a large gap. Mercedes obviously has a massive gap. And then you've just got those 2 Ferraris tucked nicely in there.
I 100% agree with you. Ferrari was also my pick, and my second pick, which of course I will go with now, is the Alpine team.
I can see that.
I think 9th, 10th is pretty good for them. It's not great.
Yeah.
It's probably not exactly where they want to be, right on the edge of the points, but it's better than no points. And I think Alpine at a certain point, like I said last week, I don't believe Alpine is going to be fighting for that 3rd place this year. I think that is, I think everyone they're probably not even going to be fighting for 4th. I think they'll probably be 5th or 6th, depending on if Aston Martin or if AlphaTauri can start to put together a few more, a little bit more consistency.
Yeah.
But I think Alpine should be happy with 9th, 10th.
I agree.
So they are my team of the week.
Good choice.
Now we're getting into my favorite segment, Chase. Worst of the weekend.
Oh, man.
Chase, what was the worst of the weekend for you?
Oh, man. Where does it end, dude?
There was a lot. A lot.
Hamilton goes into a barrier. He pulls it back, but he still goes into a barrier. Leclerc spins out. Nikita Mazepin spins out. Let's see. Perez spins out. Sonoda spins out. Max spins out. Like, who doesn't spin out this race?
Yeah, it was a chaotic race.
And
going back to your one-word description.
Yeah, exactly. Chaotic. And then there's like Schumacher going into the wall, warming up his tires.
Yeah.
Ooh, those are always painful, no matter how much you slice it up and dice it up. They're painful to watch. The obvious golden moment, Russell versus Bottas, right?
Yep.
But for me, worst moment you asked for, right?
Yeah, worst of the weekend. What happened that was just the worst?
Okay. It's a tough call for me, and I don't know if I'll be able to choose, but it's between Latifi spinning out, rejoining the track, and then just driving into a Haas. That was painful.
That was pretty funny.
Lap 2, lap 3 or something, right? Oof. And then it has to be also Perez going from 2nd to 11th, spinning out, passing cars on, just so many rookie mistakes.
Making simple mistakes that he really shouldn't be making.
Especially Perez. He's been here a while.
Yep.
It's not his first race.
Yep. Well, I got to agree with you on Sergio Perez. That was kind of my first pick. Placing 11th is just not... It's just nowhere near where Sergio Perez deserves to be. That is just so... It's unfair. I picked him, if you recall, I picked him to get his first podium, and he was going to, and he was gonna, and then
mistake after mistake.
Yeah, when you get a wet track like that, number one, like, it really separates the men from the boys. And not obviously these cars are incredibly hard to control. These guys, like, nobody there is perfect except for Max Verstappen. Somehow, when Max Verstappen drives in the rain, it's like he's not driving in the rain. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That just again shows
he
you how.
Spun out once, didn't even fully spin out.
Yeah, it was just like,
and it was during safety car.
Yeah. Max was not inhibited at all by the rain, and he hardly ever is.
Yeah.
So 11th for Sergio Perez is one of my worst of the weekend, and then Sebastian Vettel
again
in the Aston Martin
last week. Yeah,
in the Aston Martin 15th. His teammate and his junior by 50 years. Lance Stroll is a child compared to Sebastian Vettel. Lance Stroll is only like 24.
And statistically speaking, an amateur compared to
Absolutely. Vettel. Sebastian Vettel is a, four-time world champion?
Four-time world
champion. 15th is... It's just the worst. It's just the worst. It's just the worst. That this cannot continue to happen for Vettel. If it does, if it does, it would behoove of him to retire. It really would. I would hate to see him slug through another season if this continues. I don't want that because I love him. I love Seb Vettel. He's funny, he's smart, he's intelligent. Just please don't make me watch another season if this continues. That's all I'm saying.
Red Bull, Vettel, he was a beast.
Absolutely.
I don't recall quite off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure, wasn't it back-to-back drivers championship for him?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
I mean, yeah, like you said, to see him in 15th, that's a disappointment. We're talking, statistically speaking, the second most experienced and best on the track?
Mm-hmm.
At least by championships, he's second. But yeah, that's a good choice.
It's just the worst, Chase.
Yeah. For me, what sent me over the edge real quick, to go back on the mine, was...
Of course, yeah.
Was Perez... I can forgive spinning out a bunch. It's the passing the two cars during a safety car.
Yeah.
That...
Like...
What are you doing?
I think it kind of just goes back to that, like, racer mentality where like, he's just, like, I don't know, you feel like, oh, that was my position, oh, even though I messed up, I need to get it back. But somebody who's been in Formula One for as many years as Perez has been in for a while,
if not more.
That seems like a silly mistake that just shouldn't happen. It just shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Let's stay on Red Bull, Chase, for a new segment I'm calling Inside the Trailer, or Inside the Paddock. I don't know.
Yeah.
In this section, we're gonna, maybe speculate, talk a little smack, see what comes up. And here's the topic for this week, Chase.
Yep.
You're a Red Bull fan, Chase. I know you are.
Big boy.
I'm a pretty big Red Bull fan. They're probably not my favorite. But, Chase, is this the year that we finally see Red Bull, but more specifically Max Verstappen, finally making a serious challenge to Lewis Hamilton in that Mercedes?
Oh, yeah, dude. It's no doubt in my mind. This season, in my opinion, will be Max Verstappen, Hamilton at it the whole season, and then you'll have everybody behind them. I think they're going to slowly leave everybody in the dust as they fight for second and first. I'm so excited, dude. And I've heard people talk. The whisper in the wind that I've heard is that the Red Bull car is better currently. So that's a little concerning if I'm Mercedes,
I agree with you. I don't know about the Red Bull car being better. I haven't heard that. But I think, and I know it's speculative. We're only two races in.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We're only two races
out
in.
of like 20.
2 races in. But I mean, last season Max didn't win a race until like the very end of the season. So to get a win in the second race of the season, we have to have this conversation. We have to, because Mercedes has been on top for so long. To finally see just a hint of a weakness in the Mercedes armor. It makes me super, again, it makes me super excited for the rest of the season. I think it's going to be a good season.
I think this is going to be one of the best we've seen in a couple years.
I agree. All right, Chase. Here's the big one, though. Is Max Verstappen going to win the Drivers' Championship this year, or do you think this is all for naught? Lewis just has it still. What do you think?
Oh man, like you said, 2 races in, that's a hard prediction, right? The hope in me says yes. The reality in me says it's going to change each match, each race, right? I think the reality of it is it's going to be, like I said before, Verstappen, Hamilton, just at each other's throat the whole race. one of them DNFs changes the whole thing, you know? I think, and I would have leaned way more towards yes if Hamilton hadn't have recovered from ninth. If Hamilton hadn't have recovered from ninth, that would have wrecked him.
Yep.
That would have been bad. The hope in me says yeah. The reality in me says it's tough. It's tough. Because a lot of things went right for Verstappen and a lot of things went wrong for Hamilton, but also some of those things that went right for Verstappen were because of him. Like one of the first things that happened, corner 2, he showed Hamilton the dominant side of him, pushing him off the track there, you know?
It was a great overtake there in the first corner.
And like you said, how he just races differently in rain. It's tough to say. I don't think I could give a definitive answer this with only 2 races down, but what's exciting is that it's debated. That's what I'm happy about.
Definitely. One thing that I kind of think of when we're going into this season is because next season we're going to get an entirely different set of rules. That it's Mercedes just doesn't have the same amount of focus on like the progression of this car that they're using. They're not upgrading it as much. They're not putting as much money, as much time, as many people on it, because everybody has to start building the 2022 car, which is going to be entirely different. And obviously that'll be exciting. I can't wait for that. I'd love to see, who rises to the top of the pack when that happens. But I think because of that, they've allowed a team like Red Bull, who was already the closest to them, to catch even closer and possibly match them. So that's why I believe this might be Red Bull's year to do it. I don't know if we're talking a sweep for drivers and constructors. I don't know about that. I can't say that because Sergio Perez has just not, I mean, again, we're 2 races in, but he's been inconsistent so far, and that's not great for him. Consistency has been Sergio Perez's main thing, so I have no doubt I'll have no doubts about this in 5 or 6 races. But right now, I have to speculate on what we know, which is that Sergio Perez has not been consistent so far.
And to tack on to that, the other downfall is, say what you want about the crash. What was Bottas doing in 9th place the entire race, though? That's the thing I want to tack on there when talking about the Constructors' Championships point. I get it was a terrible weekend, but, that's not good to see at all.
It goes back to what I said earlier. The rain, when you have to race on wet, when Mother Nature has her say, it separates the men from the boys, and it exposed Valtteri Bottas for the mediocre driver that he is.
I hate to say it, but it's true.
I don't even hate to say it anymore. Valtteri Bottas does not deserve the second Red Bull seat. That is George Mercedes, excuse me. That is George Russell's seat by right. He has earned it, and it bugs me every time I see Valtteri Bottas in that seat because he has not earned it.
Yeah.
He has not earned it.
Yeah.
When you are considered a top driver at a top team, even if your opponent is arguably the best, even if your teammate is arguably one of the best drivers
in existence
to ever race a Formula 1 car, you should still be second consistently,
or
consistently,
up there.
not in ninth. In ninth. Valtteri Bottas is a mediocre driver in one of the best Formula 1 cars to ever exist. And when it rains and that car's a little shaky, it exposes him for what he is.
Oh, yeah.
Mediocre.
And since we're this close on it, right, on the topic, do you want to briefly, because it's been talked about in every conceivable way, but do you want to briefly touch on the accident real quick? So my thoughts are, it's like, which is this is pretty generalized with the community. It's more like 40, 60 in favor of it being Russell's fault, right? And but I want to talk about there's a lot to talk about here, right? I don't necessarily care who caused the crash, because if it's debated, then it's not that relevant, right? If you can debate
Yeah.
who caused it, is it
Good
really
point.
that
Yeah.
relevant who caused it? I want to talk about two things. The first is, I blame Bottas not for the crash, but for being there. What is he fighting Williams for? Like you said, that shows that he's just an average racer in a spectacular car. What is he fighting a Williams for in 9th place?
It's tough.
Then the other thing I want to expound on is, a lot has been said about what George Russell said, and he said tons of things, and I don't know all the things he said. But I want to touch on the fact that he has what I think is the mentality of the drivers' championships winners. He was so adamant that it was Bottas's fault, even if it wasn't. You see that level of arrogance in the greatest of all time. You see that in the best racers on the grid. That level of arrogance.
Definitely. With a crash like this, when it's kind of difficult to decide whose fault it is.
Yeah.
Especially because George was trying to overtake him.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to put more of the blame in instances like that on Valtteri Bottas.
Interesting.
On the driver getting past, because it's their, like, they are the ones defending,
Mm-hmm.
and they need to be the one to make the decision of, like, okay, he's
Safe
like,
defense and stuff.
yeah, exactly. You in that instance are responsible for both drivers, yourself and the man and the driver trying to pass
Mm-hmm.
you. You're responsible for both their safety, because you could just run into him if you wanted to. The other guy's trying to pass you. He's not trying to run into you, but you're defending, and so you're getting in his way. So you need to be the one who's like, okay, this is still a safety fence if I move over here. But then as soon as he's up to you, if you move over, that's your fault. That is just your fault.
That's a good point of view. And to look at it from the attacker's point of view, it's, you go down a funnel. If George Russell wanted to pass there, he passed on the right. What else is he supposed to do? Not pass? Pass on the grass on the left? So, yeah.
Yeah, asking one of these guys to not pass is like asking them not to breathe. Like, it's just not how that works.
A little tangent here. Toto Wolff saying that he should have driven differently because it was a Mercedes versus a Mercedes. Toto said that to Russell. I completely disagree with. That is so arrogant of Toto to say, hey, Russell, I know you're trying to be, the best, because every racer wants to be the best. But because it's Bottas, don't pass him, please. Thanks. It's like, what is that? What is that?
I love Toto Wolff, so I'm hesitant to say anything bad about him. I actually haven't seen this quote that you're referring to.
Let me see if I can find it real quick.
But I tend to agree with you. I think that's a little silly for him to ask that. I think if you could pull up the quote, that'd be great, because I don't want to like say anything that because of something that isn't true, or he wasn't talking about that, or I believe you.
Yeah,
it's just we live in an era of false communication sometimes. So, but I think that is a little too much. Like, it's not your team. Like,
yeah,
this is, again, I think in that instance they were fighting for points, weren't they? Like,
yeah,
you can't expect, and especially someone like George Russell, who just will scrap for any point.
Oh yeah,
asking him to be like, oh, don't pass is dumb. It's kind of dumb.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to find the quote, but yeah, I know what you're saying. It's like you said, it's in their blood. It's like we watched Daniel pull aside for Lando. Everyone knows that hurt Daniel. It's tough. They want to win. They want to do the best they can.
Yeah, that was interesting. I forgot about that. We can maybe talk about that another time.
Yeah.
All right, Chase. Let's skip the quote. I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sure
fine.
it's.
Yeah.
I trust you. Why don't you intro us into the next session here, into the next section?
Okay, I want to play a little mini game with you. I'm
Let's
going
do
to
it.
throw two names at you, two driver names at you, right?
Okay. Okay.
From the two, you pick whichever driver you think is the better racer. Not
Okay.
drives the better machinery, the better racer. Put in the
Got
same
you.
car.
Okay.
And then we're going to take your winning one and put him up against someone else, right? And we're
Okay.
going to slowly work our way up from what I personally think are, the mediocre drivers to the best on the grid.
Got you.
All right?
Okay.
So, Latifi or Mazepin?
Oh my, two drivers in the back of the pack.
Oh yeah.
This for me is a no-brainer. It's Nicholas Latifi. Look, I think that Nicholas Latifi will never be a world champion.
I agree.
I think the best Nicholas Latifi will ever probably do is mid-pack.
Yeah, I'm guessing, just to tangent here, I'm guessing he'll be pushed up to a mid-pack team in the next couple years,
Yeah, possibly. I hate to be that guy, but Nikita Mazepin only got his seat because his dad's rich. Like,
yeah,
he scored fifth in the F2 championship. There were like four other guys ahead of him who were arguably better, but their dads weren't rich. So
yeah. All right, so your option is Latifi.
My option is there, Latifi, 100%. I really have no qualms about that.
Yeah.
And again, this isn't a like, oh, what would
Yeah.
I assume you want me to make a choice based on how these drivers are right now.
Pretty much. Because if we're talking primes, someone like Mazepin
that
and
can get
Latifi,
way
they
too.
don't have primes.
Yeah, we just don't know.
Yeah,
we just don't know.
Just currently, out of the couple races we've seen, if we put everybody in the same car, who do you think versus
Nicholas Latifi is the better driver out of those two.
All right,
for sure.
Latifi or Mick Schumacher?
Ooh, that's actually a good question. I'm actually still gonna go with Latifi. I think he just has more experience. I don't know. Again, this is where we get into if Mick can live up to like 1/5 of Michael's potential, I'd put him up. I'd probably put him above Latifi, but we just don't know. We just don't know
yet.
And I hate to judge a guy like that based on how well his dad did. I don't care. Too many people in the media they put like weird and different expectations on people because of who they're related to. And while yes, like, it is awesome that his dad was Michael Schumacher, and I'm sure he got a lot of good experience out of that. Does not mean he will be an 8-time world champion. It just doesn't mean that.
It's hard to judge him, but I don't think he's, like you said, if he's 1/5 of what his dad is, that's amazing. So
I think
see.
1/5 would still get him a world championship if I'm thinking about it.
So
1/8.
Latifi
If he was 1/8, he'd still get a world championship.
Yeah, exactly. Well, his dad's what, 6-time world champion?
8-time. That's what.
Are we sure? That's
pretty sure.
Hamilton, I thought.
No. But yeah, it is Hamilton because he just tied him.
Let's see, Michael Schumacher. Where's championships? Typing over my mic here. 7-time world champion.
7-time. Okay, seven.
Oh yeah, 1/7 is still a world champion. All right.
Next bout, next fight.
Yeah.
Next head-to-head, next race.
We got Latifi versus Antonio Giovinazzi.
This one goes to Antonio Giovinazzi, and I'll tell you why. Because Antonio Giovinazzi is when Antonio Giovinazzi is on, he is a very good racing driver. He is very good, and I could honestly, if he puts together some good races, I could see him getting a better seat than Alfa Romeo.
I could see that. Well, he is a
He's
Ferrari contract right now, so
he does.
up
I
in the
don't
air.
know if he'll ever get to the Ferrari level,
I personally don't
but
think he will.
I don't think so either. But I would not be surprised if we saw him at Alpine or if we saw
Yeah,
him at, I mean, even
yeah,
like a McLaren down the road.
could
Giovinazzi's
be.
not old. He's only like 23.
Yeah, he's still
Um,
young
yeah,
comparatively.
Giovinazzi I think wins that almost every time.
All right. So, and I might have messed up the order, but I personally like the next choice. All right.
Okay.
Arcon versus Giovinazzi.
Esteban Ocon versus Antonio Giovinazzi.
Mm-hmm.
This is tough for me because overall I don't like Esteban Ocon. Like I don't think he's a good person. He's kind of a
Yeah,
douche.
I could see that.
Um,
Throwback to knocking out Verstappen, right, when he was getting
yeah.
lapped.
Well, he also came up racing. I don't know if you know this, but he like came up racing Pierre Gasly, and he was like
Mm,
they were like best friends. And then something happened in like when they were in like Formula 2, and now Esteban like hates his guts.
interesting.
Yeah, he hates Pierre Gasly now, and I'm like, come on, like this is dumb. Like I don't know what happened, but
Mm-hmm.
so Esteban Ocon seems like kind of the bad guy,
Yeah.
but I think I'm gonna have to pick him over Antonio Giovinazzi.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that
I
decision.
think he's a little bit faster. We see him. I mean, he's fighting with Fernando Alonso
Mm-hmm.
pretty consistently
Doing
so
good. His
far this
teammate,
season.
same
So
machinery.
yep. So I gotta give that to Esteban. I do. I think Esteban's better.
All right. Esteban or Yuki Tsunoda?
Oh, Chase, Chase. This is so hard.
That's the point. For
'Cause
me personally, this one's an easy one.
I love Yuki Tsunoda. I love him to death, and he had a great first race, but this second race wasn't great. It wasn't bad. 12th
Yeah.
is fine, but it's
12th is
definitely
still
not.
what, up 8
12th
from
is
his starting?
12th is still great, but overall, Esteban Ocon is a better driver right now. He
I can
just
see that.
is.
It's
He
a
just
that's
is,
that's
and I
all.
love Yuki Tsunoda. That pains me to say.
Yeah,
Pains me to say.
that's why I'm doing it. All right. This one might be easy for others. Personally, I think it'd be a toss-up for me. Lance Stroll, Esteban Ocon.
That's actually a really good one because these two are so similar in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But
Both mid-pack
Lance Stroll
teams
has had
friendly.
some. Lance Stroll has consistently had better cars than Esteban Ocon.
Yeah,
I mean that
that's
Racing Point
true.
last year was a good car,
Pink
and Lance
Mercedes.
Stroll put it on pole in
Mm-hmm.
Portugal. I
Yeah,
think it was
which is a
Portugal.
feat. That's a feat.
I gotta give it to Lance.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta give it to Lance, even though he's had better cars than Esteban. Lance's highs have been
Are
so
high.
high. He's probably better in my opinion.
Yeah, I could agree with that. For me, it's kind of a little bit like, yeah, I think it's Lance. It's not by a landslide, but I think it's Lance,
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now we're getting into kind of wishy-washy water, you could say.
I
Right?
love wishy-washy water. It's my favorite kind of water.
Lance Stroll, Valtteri Bottas.
Oh my gosh. We all know my feeling
Yeah.
on Valtteri Bottas. He's overrated.
Mm-hmm.
He's overworked. He just
Yep.
needs a vacation from Mercedes.
Yep. But saying all that,
When was the last time Valtteri Bottas put a Mercedes on pole?
I know he did one 2020. Let me see if I can find that real quick.
I'm honestly having a hard time picking him over Lance Stroll.
That's fair because Lance has potential, and personally, Valtteri doesn't have much.
Lance
potential.
surprises me every week with good performances. I think I'm gonna say Lance Stroll is a better driver than Valtteri Bottas, and I can't believe those words just came out of my mouth, but I think it's true. I think it's true.
The last race he won was the Russian Grand Prix. I don't know his last pole, but that was his last win.
Every time Valtteri Bottas is in trouble, every time Valtteri Bottas has to fight somebody, he loses. And I can't say the same for Lance Stroll. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. What's the next one?
All right, let me pull it back up. I was looking
next
at statistics. All right, so you're still on the Stroll boat.
I'm still on Lance Stroll. I can't believe I'm saying that because I
All
don't
right.
really care for the man, but yeah,
I think
that's
now is where it gets challenged. All right, Kimi Räikkönen, Lance Stroll.
Lance Stroll is better than Kimi Räikkönen. It's really not even close for me.
Yeah, interesting.
I like Kimi Räikkönen. I think he's a really funny guy, like with how he handles everything. But if you're gonna put him head to head, I think Lance is probably the quicker driver. Lance just still has it, and Kimi's just old.
I think personally, Kimi's just enjoying his time.
I agree.
I think he's just, I want to race. I don't want to win. I want to race. I think that's
exactly.
his mindset.
He's like, I'm not going to win, but I want to race.
Yeah. All right. So still
he's
on
great.
Stroll for what? I think that's like
Lance Stroll
wins. All right. Stroll, Sebastian Vettel.
Oh.
For me, this is an easy choice, even though the two races would disagree with that.
You want me to say Sebastian Vettel, but Chase, I just can't.
That's fair. He has placed,
Chase,
15th and 15th?
I just can't. And again, going back, I really like Sebastian Vettel. I think he's great. But if you put current Sebastian Vettel up against current Lance Stroll, I think Lance Stroll is quicker. I think he's shown it in the qualifying. I think he's shown it in qualifying.
Let's see. They're both same team, so same machinery.
This one is even, in my opinion, easier to call because they're on the same team.
I could see that, yeah.
I think Lance Stroll is the better driver.
My hope is that by the end of the year, it flip-flops.
I would 100% agree with you on that. We'll see. I would love to see Sebastian Vettel up in the points consistently, doing us proud in his old age.
Yeah.
But I just don't see it happening.
That's fair. All right.
I can't believe I'm still on Lance Stroll.
Don't worry. If he doesn't get out this time, there's not many left that are arguably better than him or worse than him. All right. So Lance Stroll or Fernando Alonso.
That's tough because if you posed this to me at the beginning of the season, I would probably say Lance Stroll because when we came into the season, I thought Fernando Alonso was going to be so behind the pace and so old.
I kind of agreed. Yeah.
But he has not been. He hasn't been. And so I think if you put him in the same car, I think Fernando's probably quicker. I do.
I could agree with that, especially seeing as personal opinion, I think the Aston Martin car is better than the Alpine.
Absolutely it is.
All right. So finally, off of baby boy Stroll.
Okay.
All right. And now we're getting into tough territory because now we're in what I would argue is the top end of the pack. If you put them,
I can't believe Lance Stroll made it. Or no. I can't believe Lance Stroll made it so far, but he did. Yeah. Okay, Fernando Alonso though.
Fernando Alonso. Let's see. I'll bring him in. George Russell. Fernando Alonso, George Russell.
George Russell wins that. Yep. I rate George Russell so highly. I know he's just in a crappy car, but he is so quick. He's so quick. And this is actually going to be, if you keep going with George Russell, which I think you probably will have to.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people are quicker than George Russell. George Russell is in my top 5 of drivers.
Well, we're getting there. There's only like 7 drivers left. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Russell, Pierre Gasly.
George Russell. He's faster than Pierre. I think he is.
I think in the 2021 season, I agree with that. 2020 season, Pierre winning a race in a mid-pack car, that was insane. Just saying.
That was good.
And we're not talking about primes, but
Yep, I understand that was good. And if you put them in the same car, I think George is faster.
I agree. All right. George Russell. Daniel Ricciardo.
That's tough. That's tough
I know
because
you
Daniel
like them
Ricciardo
both. I know you like them
has
both.
been very consistent, but George Russell
George
still, in
Russell?
my opinion, and he's still quicker than January. I think if you put him in the same car, that's so close. That's so close.
Yeah.
And like I agree that Daniel definitely has had a lot more time in a top car, but
Mhm.
Daniel's quite a bit older than George.
He's old
And
now.
yeah, I still gotta, if you put
Going
him
with
in the
Russell?
same
That's
car
fair.
on the same track, just let him race. I think George is quicker.
That's reasonable. I see that. All right. George Russell, Sergio Perez.
Ooh, that is tough because again, it's one race. This is one race versus
Yeah.
the two. Oh man,
It's tough because Perez is good.
he's good and he's so consistent, and that's the
Yeah.
best part about Sergio Perez is he's so consistently
Mm-hmm.
quick. But again,
Mm-hmm.
we're talking a one lap, or we're not one lap, but like a
Yeah.
one race. They're in the same car. George Russell is still faster, in my opinion.
I think I agree, but I want to say slightly, but also we're talking debatable best car in the grid versus worst car in the grid.
Yeah.
So it's
I always harken back to that second Bahrain Grand Prix. George Russell in a ill-fitting
yeah,
Mercedes car that
yeah.
he had never driven before on an
Not
actual,
never driven.
not, he had tested it, I think, but hadn't driven the car. He had a poorly fitting seat,
Yeah,
and he was going to win.
yeah.
He was
Yep,
gonna win.
yep.
He was gonna win,
Put him in a good car, and he takes off. Put
he
him in a good
wins.
car,
He
and
was
he
gonna win,
takes
and
off.
yeah. George Russell's faster than Sergio Perez.
All right, George Russell, Carlos Sainz Jr.
This one is actually a no-brainer. That's even less. I love Carlos Sainz, I really do, but George Russell's faster.
See, that's debatable for me personally.
That one is not debatable for me. I'm sorry. I put George Russell faster than Lando Norris too.
Really?
Yeah,
You're kidding me?
yeah,
Wow.
I do.
Spoilers.
And spoilers, yeah, for next one. But I think Lando is quicker than Carlos. So
Yeah, I
for
think
me, that's a no-brainer.
Lando's high on this. All right, so Russell, Leclerc.
I think Charles Leclerc beats him.
Yeah.
Now we're getting into the top five.
Yeah, this is definitely like the best of the best right now.
Yeah, Charles Leclerc, in my opinion, is the third best driver on the grid. I think that George Russell's right behind him in fourth there.
Oh yeah, so I guess I should have gone Norris first. All right, Leclerc, Norris. I guess it's Leclerc again.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then I'm not surprised. I'm not going to be surprised by these two. I don't know if any of the viewers will be surprised by these two, but Leclerc, Hamilton.
Man,
for me, it's an easy choice.
In the same car,
mm-hmm.
on the same track, Lewis Hamilton's probably faster.
Mm-hmm. Lewis Hamilton is just too darn fast.
He's too darn good.
Yeah, and it's for me, it's easy because a lot of people jump on a tangent here. A lot of people talk about, it's the car. Have you seen his McLaren years? Have you seen the years where it wasn't the car and what he did in those years?
They were very good. Very good years.
Yeah. All right. And then Hamilton.
The final one.
Verstappen.
Max Verstappen is the fastest driver on the grid. It's just true. No matter what happens. It could rain. It could snow. It could hail. There could be a goddamn tornado. And Max Verstappen would still be the fastest driver on the grid.
I agree. Put
him in the same car as any other driver on the grid, and he will beat them, and it won't be close, in my opinion.
Here's what I love about Max. The only close competition is Hamilton. Everyone else is so far out of Max's sights, it's not even funny.
If we were to see the super team, as in like Mercedes gets Verstappen and Mercedes has has both Hamilton and Verstappen, I
Mhm.
think it would be laughable to see how
It wouldn't be close.
quickly Max Verstappen would be beating Hamilton. I
Well,
don't think he beat him
and
every
then the
time.
competition wouldn't be close. It'd be them two
Oh, it would just be those
so
two.
far. It'd be
They
them
would
two
be
getting more points individually than teams get.
They would be way over here.
Yeah, it would be so. It'd be so boring if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm. I would
It'd
hate
just
to. I
be.
would hate that for the sport.
It'd be no debate. But yeah, it's insane, and that's what I love about Max when talking about that second seat at Red Bull. Put anyone there, it doesn't matter. He's still the principal driver.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And on the subject of Max going to Mercedes, I don't think it's going to happen.
No, I don't think that'll happen.
I personally think if Red Bull loses Max, and this may be extreme, but I personally think they should consider leaving the sport. Max, like, I know that's extreme, but like, Max is their reputation right now. Max has kept that team alive through 3 different drivers, counting current Sergio Perez, by himself.
Yep, I agree. Well, that was great. That was really fun, Chase. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right, Chase. Let's finish it up. Let me get your podium predictions for next week, or actually for this week. We're recording this on the 30th, so
in a couple days here.
The 29th into the 30th. It's pretty late. Portugal Grand Prix. Give me your podium predictions.
It's tough. It's tough. I'm gonna. Oh man. I think I have to say Hamilton or Verstappen 1 or 2, because realistically, in my opinion, what would change that is a crash. If there's not a crash, I don't know if that changes. I don't know if these two don't get in the top 2 this season so far. I think Hamilton had a terrible race. I think it's gonna be Hamilton number 1, Verstappen number 2, and I think we're gonna see. Let's see, who was number 3 last week? Bottas, right?
The first week. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, Bahrain. It was Bottas, right?
Bahrain. That's how you say it.
Bahrain, yeah.
Sorry, it's a.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, it was Bottas in third. Yep.
All right. I think we're gonna see our third new driver in third place here. I think it's gonna be like I think the next best choice would be Leclerc.
Okay. I like that prediction. Number
I could
1.
reasonably see. But I could reasonably see Ferrari still going up. Going up in that, getting better, getting their car up there. All right, go for it.
It's not a bad prediction. I tend to disagree. I don't think Ferrari's quite there yet, barring a crash or something. I tend to think that this is going to be. I know I predicted it last week, and then some crazy stuff happened.
Yeah.
It's going to be Hamilton first, Verstappen second, Sergio Perez in third.
Yeah,
that's what I think. That's what I think.
Perez got
a possible second place, or a possible alternate third place is Daniel Ricciardo. He's going to be coming out of the gate heavy. He's going to be coming out of the gate heavy. He's sick and tired of losing to Lando Norris. I can already feel it.
Yeah.
And Portugal is not a track everybody's raced on a lot.
Yeah.
So that gives the advantage to the older guys who have been there longer, because they know how to adapt better than some of the younger guys. And Daniel Ricciardo has that one advantage on
one of the most experienced on the track.
Exactly. So that is my prediction.
Same prediction as last week. That's fair.
Same prediction as last week. It's safe.
But it's safe. It's really, if we're being honest, currently with how this season's going, it's predicting the third position. The first 2, it's like flip a coin,
Hamilton, Verstappen.
Yeah, it's so. which I kind of love to see, but I also kind of hate to see just because of, no offense to Hamilton, just because of the dominance. I want to see a podium without Hamilton. I'm sorry, but I want to see a podium without Hamilton.
Well, let's hope all of our predictions come true this week in Portugal. Well, Chase, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, yeah, thanks
See you
for
next
having
week.
me. Yeah, definitely.